Okay, well, first, thank you for being with us. We appreciate your time. Tonya Craft, the Tonya Craft case.
Yes.
You were involved in that as her private investigator. Take us back to when she first reached out to you and asked you to be a part of this to help her in her case.
Well, actually, I was contacted by the law firm who represented her, which was Slater and King at the time.
Right.
And they were Kings, were clients of mine at the time. So when they got this case, they in turn called me and asked me to kind of get involved and help them out.
And when they described the case to you, what did they say? Did you know what you were getting yourself into?
It's funny you asked that. When I got the phone call, they did not tell me it was a child molestation case. They kept that under wraps until I got there and said, hey, we got this meeting with this client. We want you to come down here and we'll give you all the details when you get here. And that's when I found out what it was.
And your reaction was?
My my first reaction was, I can't believe this is the female that they saying, accused of molesting someone, because at the time, looking at Tonya, you wouldn't think that she would be someone who would fall in that category. So as the meeting progressed, then it was like, oh, okay, they're talking about her. So
Oh, so you didn't even realize at the time when she was in the room that,
I knew that she was the client, but it didn't fully hit me because, I mean, let's face it, Tanya's attractive female. So when I first heard it and then it was with little girls, then I was like, okay, something really doesn't make sense here. So they had to keep, we kept talking about it. And then, that's when I start to say, oh, okay, it is her.
and so the more you learned about the case, what did you think?
I go into every case with an open mind. I just don't believe what's being told to me by the attorney or by the client themselves. I have to do the investigation and let my investigation tell me if it's true or not, or if it did happen or it didn't happen. I base my findings and I base my beliefs off of what I find.
When you say surveillance as part of your investigation,
Mhm.
what defines surveillance?
So surveillance means you follow people. So I had set up a team of different individuals with different vehicles, different private investigators. And there were certain individuals that we did surveillance on to see if they were meeting or cohorting together at a secret location, so we can find out what was going on. So that was just part of the investigation at the time.
And what did you find?
We didn't find anything because that area is so open. You live in that area, so it's so open and there's not a lot of cars. So if you're going on a road with one way, roads, it's difficult to do a vehicle surveillance because people can spot you. So after a few days of rotation of surveillance, I pulled it.
And you mentioned in your book at the very beginning that you lived in Detroit.
Yes, born and
And
raised.
yes, and then you came here and were kind of out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Were you, I guess, were you out of your comfort zone when you were in North Georgia and the small town that it is? You,
I grew up in the inner city Detroit. And my neighborhood was all African American, all Black. I went to the Marine Corps, which that was my first introduction to actually being close around other races. And I've learned to deal with other races because of the Marine Corps, because my buddy I'm digging this foxhole with could be white, could be Hispanic, could be Puerto Rican. So you learn to adapt. And over time, that's how I became. But when you go to a county like Catoosa County, where it's 90, at that time, I think it was like 98 or 97% Caucasian, and 2% other. And you're the only African American involved in a case like this. If you look at the attorneys, you look at the alleged victims, you look at their parents, you look at the district attorney, you look at the police, you look at the sheriff, you look at everybody involved. I stood out because I was the only African American guy. And at the time I drove Cadillac. so, so with tinted windows, I stood out, So at times I was out of my comfort area because I knew if I messed up or I knew if I did something wrong, that it would be noticed right away. So that's what I mean. I was out of my comfort area.
Right. How many people were on your team?
And when you say my team as private investigators?
Yes, in this case.
So I was the lead private investigator. At the time in my office, I had my wife, Patricia, and another investigator. His name is Hamilton Hippolyte. So the three of us were like the main individuals who did most of the investigation. When it was time to do the surveillance, I utilized Caucasian investigators who were used to the rural area so that they can fit in better. Me, myself, my wife, Patricia, and Hamilton would have stuck out. So they were part of the team for maybe less than a week, but the full-on investigation was the three of us.
When I think private investigators and I think surveillance, you think about people hiding behind trees, taking pictures. What did it involve anything like that? I mean, I know now you explain what surveillance is, but how do you do it, if you will?
The surveillance was more mobile, following them to see where they went to. If they were to get out their car, then we would sit on them to see who was coming to meet them, to see if the three alleged alleged victims' parents were meeting together, or to see if the district attorney was meeting there with them, to see if they was doing ex parte meetings and things of that nature. So that's what it was. It wasn't jumping in people's bushes or hiding behind their trash cans or
Right.
what. It wasn't any of that. No.
When you were working the case, did you ever stop and think, I've never seen anything like this in my life? Or kind of wonder, or does it strike you differently?
When I first heard the case of a female and the alleged victim were female girls, that right there struck me as unusual. I've never heard that before. You'll hear a female with male boys. You'll hear, but I've never heard of a female teacher with little girls, and one of the little girls was her own daughter. So the case from the beginning was unusual.
They called it a witch hunt.
Right.
Agreed?
Agreed. Yes.
100%.
100%.
And this was enough, this case that you worked and everything that happened was enough to prompt you, motivate you to write a book specifically about this case.
Yes.
How long did it take you to decide to say, okay, I'm going to write a book? And what was your, go ahead.
I think it was Tonya, actually. Tonya said, when this was all over, I think Doc, we called him Doc, the attorney, she was going to write a book. Everybody was going to write a book from their perspective of the case. I did mine based on the investigation. It's what the investigation of today.
Right. And now looking back, and I know you've investigated several incredible cases, including the one that you're working on now in Union County, I believe, right, in Georgia, right? Where does this one fall as far as cases that you've investigated, would you say?
I would say this case would be in the top 10, but it wouldn't be the top case.
Is there anything else that you care to add that perhaps, subject that we didn't touch on?
No, I'd have to be honest with you. This is probably you are the first reporter who has come to me, who's asked me about the investigation and what happened from my perspective and what happened to me. So I want to thank you, because this is what, 12, 14, almost 15, 14 years.
14 years.
I mean, back then, I didn't even have no gray hair back then. But no, I mean, I want to applaud you for reaching out.
Oh, thank you.
And also, you know, like I tell everybody, and I don't know, because I know you're going to cut and edit, but I wouldn't be a private investigator if I let the powers to be scare me off. And even though it may have seemed like, because I didn't go back into Chattanooga County after that judge said that, that's one thing. But on the flip side, I didn't sign that plea deal because I knew that was going to hurt my client.
Right.
So again, I stand fast to say it doesn't matter. You know, one of our slogans is, we're not going nowhere. We fight. I'm going to fight for you. So for the DJ Fickies and the Austin Mitchells and the Darius Scott cases, all these cases I got going on, or these death cases, you know, I'm not going anywhere. You know, all I say is, do your job. If the police would do their job, the DA would do their job, if people would do their jobs, and not politicize it,
Yes.
then I think we'll have a better society. But
Okay.
that's just my take on it.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. It was such a nice conversation. I enjoyed talking with you. And again, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a good night. Okay.
Good evening.
Okay. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay.
Kim, I'm gonna help you out real quick.
Yeah.
Stop recording.
Thanks for watching News Channel 9, and for more great local coverage, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. News Channel 9, depend on us.